Hello, friends. Hello, friends. A tradition unlike any other.
Oh, my goodness. In your life, have you seen anything like that?
There it is! Adam Scott, a life changer. Mashed potato!
Here it comes.
This is the 19th Tee podcast. Kieran Marsh, Nathan Judy with you for another week. Drew, still very excited for our guest tonight. What I have learnt actually since we've started doing the videos on Zoom, it takes all the mystery out of the introductions because you can actually see the person sitting right there. I will pump his tyres up all the same though. This is someone I've been looking forward to having on for quite some time because from a distance strikes me as one of the more popular but also one of the funnier members of the PGA Tour of Australasia. Not to put any sort of pressure on him for the next 45 to 50 minutes, but I'm coming in with high expectations. I speak, of course, of Aaron Wilkin. Aaron, it's fantastic to finally have you on the 19th Tee, mate. Welcome.
No worries. Thanks for having us, boys.
A bit of a left of centre one from me to start, but I just wanted to get your thoughts and probably more appropriately how disappointed you are or may be that you're no longer the biggest dog in the Sea Sports stable. Of course, the announcement during the week of Cameron Munster, the Melbourne, Queensland and Australian kangaroo superstar joining Braithen Astor and your team there at Sea Sports, and just want to see how you feel about being knocked off the top perch.
No, I'll let that slide.
Well, I mean, there's an old saying, Aaron, that's you got to dance with the one that brought you. So is there any concern from yourself, Quayle, Papadatos, that now, Braith, great friend of this podcast, but he's got a shiny new toy. So is there any concern from you guys that, you've built him up, you built Sia up to where it is now and the big dogs come in and you might get left behind?
Nah, he might help us, I think. He's got a bit more of a profile than us. So I think it's a good signing. I think it's been in the works for a little bit. So I think the boys are pretty happy to have him. And, I don't know Munster that well, but I've had a little bit to do with him through my brother. And yeah, I think he's in a bit of a different stage of his life now. So I think they've got him in a good time. I think his head's switched on and he's still young. He's got a lot more years left in the footy. So it's exciting for Sierra, I think.
And just one more half serious fun before we go back on a look on the journey. I noted before we hit the record button the shirt. Now you're drinking a red wine, which our guest and good friend of yours, Anthony Quayle, did a couple of weeks ago. But he was sitting there in his nice white linen Ralph Polo, and you've come in with something much more our vibe here at the 19th.
Rolex.
Yeah, exactly right with the Rolex.
Brand Rolex. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Didn't have a cap on either. I had to show the hair.
He likes it.
But you've got the vintage. What looks like Tiger in a US amateur. Like that's early Tiger.
How do I show it a bit better? Yeah.
Yeah, that's lit.
It's vintage stuff.
One of my best mates back home just saw it online and he's like, I've got you this present. And I was like, oh, that's random. And he goes, he pulled the shirt. He goes, I know you love Tiger. And I've literally worn it, not every day, but a lot since he gave it to me just a month ago. So. He's the GOAT, so I just pay my respects every day.
You've got the GOAT on the shirt and the GOAT up top on the hat in terms of GOAT beers as well. The Milton Mangoes from back home.
Yeah, I feel like a bit of a trader, to be honest, because I'm actually originally from New South Wales, so I don't know. I'm a bit torn. I go for the Blues because you have to, but yeah, the Queenslanders, it's hard not to go for them.
Mate, we're going to take a bit of probably a disjointed walk back through your journey because I think we kind of need to start this summer. It's the most recent. It's top of mind. How, probably first and foremost, how's it felt just to be back into a regular swing of golf? That's been unusual given the last 18 months to 2 years, and it must be nice just to have a bit of consistency up and down the East Coast playing week in, week out at present.
Yeah, it's really good. Hey, like COVID, like for a lot of us, hit people harder than others, but like the golf wasn't there, so a lot of us sort of had to go do other things just to keep life going on. You got to still eat food and still want to be able to enjoy things and stuff. So I worked with my parents in their business for a lot of it. I was still playing golf at a social level as such, like afternoons with the boys and the pro-ams that were on, in Queensland, borders, and as you know, the borders been a bit of an issue. So, it's good just to get 4 rounds, the 4-round tournaments, although the last few events have been 3. So, it's actually amazing how tired you feel just playing the 4-rounders in a row because you just haven't done it in a long time. So, no, it's good. Form isn't quite there yet, but slowly.
Oh, it's the performance a couple of weeks ago at Murray River was pretty handy, Aaron. If you're talking about form, I mean, that was T3 finish. That's okay.
You're only as good as your last round. I shot 7 over on Sunday, so
that is very true.
There's always room to improve.
We'll get to, because you've had some good success in this year as well. Anyway, winning the Wynnum. I think hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly there, Aaron. We'll get to that in a moment. But the one that caught my attention, the line in that you mentioned just there, is that you were off working in the family business, and I'm wondering if you can maybe explain to us in a little more detail exactly what the job entailed, because I was reading it in an article and hoping you could maybe give us a bit of an information as to what you were doing.
I mean, I was just a shit kicker, to be honest. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know how to do everything in the business, because I don't. It's a simple business, and you say it out loud, but there's a lot more to it. So it's just a steel door frame manufacturing company. So it's basically just the frames in a door. So a lot of there's doors everywhere, right? So it's
critical work.
You need a door.
You do need a door.
So
there's that great debate going around at the moment. I don't know if either of you boys have seen it. Are there more doors or wheels in the world?
Yeah, I don't know. What is it? What?
I don't know.
I think it's comfortably doors. I tell you why. I heard something today which really changed my thinking on this debate. And if you're talking about all doors, think about the time, like the thousands of years that there were doorways and no wheels in the world. Like, just based on that amount of time, there'd have to be more doors that have been created over the course of existence before the wheel was even invented.
Yeah, this subject's gone it's gone north quick.
But are we going back to like when Jesus was playing fullback for Bethlehem? Are we counting that's a door or not?
And also probably do you consider a door frame? Because obviously, like a lot of old mud huts only had door frames as opposed to actual physical doors.
Yeah.
So is it a doorway, or is the physical door itself?
Don't know. Maybe we'll have to get the Wilkin family their input. Maybe they can report.
Back onto that, I was just doing a little bit of welding and then other stuff that was required in the factory. I've sort of done it on and off since I was sort of young. My mum and dad have always sort of got us in there, sort of working. I'm not going to say I worked in school holidays because I was playing golf, but when I left school, sort of I had QAS for 3 days a week, I guess, and then I was always doing a little bit of work part-time just to get a bit of change, a bit of pocket money. But yeah, sort of I relied on it a bit more this time with COVID. I'm glad I'm not doing that, but it makes you appreciate, golf for sure. Like, a tough week on the golf course is still better than a good week in the factory.
What's the name of the business? We usually don't do free ads here at the 19th podcast, Aaron, but
Metal Biz. It's all right. My old man doesn't believe in advertisements, so that's all good.
Oh, Marshy. Does that not just sound like a brand that we just had a conversation with? Big in the golfing industry. We won't mention their name, but they basically said that podcast advertising is a bigger myth as global warming to some people. But anyway, Aaron, back to golf. You mentioned that you were playing, you're just playing some social golf rounds while you were in the workshop welding. I've always been fascinated by when pros go out and play social golf. Are you still able to enjoy that social golf round, or are you going out with a sense of expectation in yourself? You're going out with your mates who maybe they don't play, you're having a couple of beers. Are you like getting frustrated when you hit bad shots? Like, what's your psyche when you go and play social golf? Because it absolutely fascinates me when pros go back and do that.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, when I'm playing with the boys, we're always playing for money. So you sort of don't really care what you shoot as long as you win. And if you lose, you just double down the last hole or pull a lever or whatever. So you sort of relate it back to that. But in saying that, you don't want to be hitting shanks and doming the ball and hitting in the trees and missing every putt. Like we sort of know what we're doing still a little bit. It's just not as fine-tuned as when we're playing tournaments. I probably enjoyed it a bit too much. My mates like a beer, so every afternoon it wasn't just golf, it was beers, and it was in a cart normally, so I wasn't really walking. But yeah, like that was, I got a good mate that got into golf sort of in COVID, and he was no good at the start. Had to start him off at the par 3 course because he would have taken too long to play a normal course, and by the end of COVID, he'd joined Wynnum and he had a handicap. So that was sort of a little bit rewarding as well, as sort of just seeing him improve. Although I don't know if he's got any better. I'm not a good coach. I can help a little bit, but not. I can't take him to the next step.
Especially when you're drinking, I would have thought probably not. Speaking of handicaps,
a couple of mangoes.
Yeah, a couple of million.
Yeah, that's the sponsors.
Speaking of handicaps, do they handicap you significantly, your mates, when you're playing with them? Like, what level's the field?
Yeah, just play like around Wynnum. It's like I'm off about +6 or 7, which is ridiculous. So that levels it out. The handicap system these days is, I feel old saying this, but when I was a junior, it was a lot different. I feel like there's a lot of people off +6 these days that just wasn't a thing when I was a junior. Like if you're off scratch, you're unbelievable. But anyway,
take us back to the start. What was the introduction to golf? Obviously, a fairly sporting family, clearly, which we'll get to a little later on. But yourself, your first introduction to golf, how did that all come about?
Yeah, so I grew up in New South Wales, like a little country town in central west New South Wales, Yeovil, which is about 70 k's from Dobbo. We lived out of town. I went to school in town when I was like obviously young, and my nan and pop, they'd moved off the farm and they were in town. So after school, I'd always go back to nan and pop's, and yeah, my pop sort of needed a little interest after he played football till he was 42. That's what you do in the country. He just played till you're 42. And he wasn't, he found golf a little bit later in life, and yeah, he just got me into it. 9-hole sand green course. So yeah, it wasn't much of a golf course, but it was where I started, and yeah, I sort of just went from there.
How difficult, I'm probably skipping a few steps ahead here, but I would have thought you'd be absolutely throwing darts at the pin on a sand green course. So when you come into the city.
You got to run it up there, eh?
Sand greens is like, it was like minimal sand, so you got to like run it up.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the surroundings were no good. When I go back and play there, that is actually frustrating because you can't making a par is like a birdie.
So you're certainly not off +6 or 7 at the Yeovil 9.
They played me off. I went back there for like my pop's Memorial Day, like 2 years ago, and they played me off like +6, and I think I shot 7 over. What's that? I had 20 points or something.
That's a real tough scene as the old hometown boy coming home.
Scratching the sand greens, just something else.
So fill in the gaps for us. How do you get from the 9-hole sand green golf course in Yeovil to the QAS? What's the progression?
My parents moved to Queensland when I was like 10 and a half. And then I used to do a lot of running. Don't do that anymore. Used to love me footy. I still love it because my brother's involved with it and a few of my friends. But yeah, I sort of just got to a point where I was playing it a fair bit, and my parents were like, oh, like we sort of, if you're serious, like we'll get you a membership. And I was like, yeah, that's sweet. So I joined Wynnum. But then it sort of went to the next level where I was sort of making development teams in Queensland at 14, and then junior team, and then a couple of Australian teams. And then they're like, oh, you sort of can't be playing football at school. Sort of, you got getting injured and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, about 16, I probably got really serious, and then yeah, left school and went straight in the QAS for like 4 years before I turned pro. So it goes pretty fast, but now I'm 29. I don't know where the time's gone.
How do you look back on those first couple of years? Kind of you move up to Queensland and you're cutting your teeth at Wynnum. Were there any individuals in particular that were kind of important for you in those few years? Because obviously, as you say, there's that probably 5-year gap between there and going to the QAS that are quite pivotal, I would imagine, and you making that step up.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of members throughout the years that help you, whether it be financial or mentoring or just, letting you play with them and letting you ask some stupid questions or so be it. But yeah, Wynnum's a pretty important part of my journey, I guess. I'm still a member there now. It's where I'll still go back and still play. There was another little before I joined Wynnum, there was a public course near where my parents moved in Queensland called Houston, and they still run a pro-am through the PGA in Queensland. They've run it. I'll get this wrong, but it's one of the longest standing pro-ams. I think it's 40 years, or they've had it 40 times or something. And that's just run by a family, and they've just done that forever. And yeah, I sort of started playing there. It was $10 to play, and then they ended up not even charging me, and they never have since. They've looked after me a lot. So that was good just to play there when I was sort of younger and go down there in the holidays and play, 36 holes, and before I sort of moved to Wynnum as such.
We were talking to Quayle about it last week, sort of moving from a small town to the big smoke in many ways. What were the differences that you kind of realised from a golfing perspective, I guess, playing back in your hometown, I guess, playing on those sand greens and then going up to Wynnum? Everything's probably a little bit bigger, and I guess the talent is probably a little bit deeper as well. What's the main differences that you found and those challenges that you overcame as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was like literally 2 juniors in Yeovil. The town's that small. There was 25 people in my school. So like the town was very small. There wasn't many people there. It's probably just the opportunity you get when you move to somewhere like, a city. So you're just around more people and more exposure and stuff. So, but yeah, it's different going from sand greens to grass greens. But I sort of had a little bit of exposure to grass earlier because Dobbo was about 70 k's from Yeovil, and then there was Wellington on the other side where I was actually born. There's no hospital in Yeovil, so they're both grass greens. So my pop used to sort of take me there as a bit of a treat, and I used to struggle because you'd have to fly it on there, where back in Yeovil you run it up. So I sort of knew a little bit about it, but yeah, there's obviously a big difference.
Did you come over that pretty quick? I guess, as you mentioned, it is pretty different.
I'm not that patient of a person. Like if I was shit outside, I would have stopped. So I showed some kind of ability to keep going, and yeah, sort of just going from there.
For a not patient person, mate, you've picked a game that takes 4 days to get a result. You've done very, very well for yourself.
Yeah, I know. I'm probably the most patient on a golf course out of any aspect in life. The rest I'm no good.
You mentioned there at the age of 16, you obviously had to give up your footy, which you love, and you still get around today. But I guess at that point in your life, are you pretty set on becoming a golfer? You know what professional golf entails, and I guess could you kind of prepare yourself for the rigors and the challenges? And I guess it's not as rosy as what everyone makes it out to be, right?
Nah, you can't. I kind of wish I just turned pro straight out of school almost, because you almost feel like the amateur golf was fun. We went over, I played in the States, did the swing over there, and they sent us around. And I think now these days it's actually beneficial to stay amateur a bit longer, just with how good the programs are. But once you turn pro, it's a different kettle of fish, like there's people that have been on tour for years and they have their structures and they know what they, works for them, and you sort of just got to figure it out yourself a little bit. So yeah, it definitely took a while. I'm still figuring it out, to be honest. But I'm getting there closer.
Who is your cohort at QAS? Who'd you come through with in your couple of years there?
There was like Kevin Marquez, who doesn't play golf anymore. Like Dan McGraw, Smithy, he plays.
He's all right.
Yeah, like Mav, but he sort of was there for a little bit. Then he went to college straight away. So sort of did more junior stuff with him. But yeah, those sort of blokes. There was a few. There was a couple of girls as well. Ash Owner. That's all I can remember. I'm losing my memory.
Was college golf ever an option for you? Did you look at it? Did you explore it?
Yeah, I got offered a couple, and that's a regret. I wish I took that. I got offered that when I was 17, 18, and I just was like, nah, I don't want to go to the States. Like, that's a big sort of step, you know. But, you know, example like Mav who went, it helped him a lot, I feel. I mean, there's a lot of people. My good mate Sam Daly, who doesn't play anymore either, he actually went to Iowa State, and yeah, he got a degree out of it, and he went quite well over there. He probably was never looking at college, but when he got there, it sort of suited him, you know. So you live and learn.
It's interesting, right? Like we've probably spoken to, I'd say, a pretty even split of guys who have and guys who haven't. I remember talking to Mav, and I think he was Augusta State, and the phenomenal opportunities that presented even beyond the college to be in that part of the country. And, you know, probably a good mix of guys who've been to big programs and also programs like Augusta State. We had, you know, good mate of the program, Justin Warren, Little Rock down in, you know, Colorado. And that. So it's interesting, right, that there seems to be
anyone talk more shit than Justin Warren?
Yeah, look, tough to say.
He is something else.
It'd be a short list. It'd be an incredibly short list of people if there were. He's one of the best. No, please. We're always happy to hang shit on Woz. It's interesting, right, that there's seemingly now pretty two divergent paths, and you know, a lot of guys not impatient but turning pro maybe earlier than they used to. And to your point, you know, you look back on it now, and it might have been worth you know, the little bit of extra time, and obviously whether it's spent here in the QAS or NSWIS or VIS or over in the States, it's that little extra patience of maybe 2 or 3 years that can be critical. Yeah.
In saying that, there's no the older you get, you realize there's no really right way, is there? Sort of everyone has their own journey. I feel like some people benefit better from staying amateur longer. Or I think you're seeing it now. There's the young fellas, and I listened to Lincoln's podcast the other day. Like he touched on it. The young fellas that are coming on the tour now, like they got the blinkers on. Like they don't really care. Where I feel like when I turned, I was sort of like looking around a lot. You know, I was trying to search for people for a bit of advice, and they're not looking for that. They've already got it. So yeah, there's different ways to look at it.
Take us back to your kind of process of turning pro. You mentioned you were looking around. Who were the type of people you were tapping on the shoulder and asking questions of, and ultimately, you know, the ones that were probably quite influential in your timing and your decision to turn pro when you did? Testing that memory.
I don't know. I mean, I decided to go to Q school, and I didn't want to turn pro before I went to Q school, because that happens a little bit sometimes where people turn pro and then go to Q school and then get no status, and then they got nothing to sort of play. So I wanted to go to Q school and get some status. I did that. And yeah, I traveled with Josh Caban, who doesn't play golf anymore either. Seems to be a common thread, but
is it you? Is it people who've played with you? You too threatening.
Send him around the twist. But like, we were both new to it, and we travelled together, so we were sort of we weren't really, we sort of were figuring out ourselves. We weren't really leaning on any of the older blokes. They're doing their own thing, you're doing your thing. All I knew is that I sort of felt like I wanted to see if I could get somewhere overseas, and I went to Asian Q school and missed. So I was like, okay, maybe I'm not ready for that. So I spent another year in Australia, and I lost a playoff in PNG, which there was a tour event there, not anymore. And I sort of felt like, oh, okay, I'm playing okay. Maybe I can go overseas next year, and that's when I started exploring like Japan. yeah, that was a journey in itself.
There's one I was going to bring up with PNG back in 2016. I think, if I'm testing my memory here, I was looking at it earlier. You actually tied with Quayle for T2. I'm thinking the right year. I'm just trying to find the leaderboard here. 2016.
We tied as a player
with Brad
Moles,
yeah.
Moles.
Yep, with yourself and Quayle, Anthony Quayle. Yeah. There you go. So, what's
yeah? I don't want to use an excuse. The Greens over there, obviously, you're in PNG. They're not first class, but I 3-putted from literally 8 foot to lose that tournament. So that's good memories.
So I really want to talk about it. That's good stuff.
So there goes my question. I was just going to say,
Milesy hold like a 20-footer on the absolute cabbage greens to win.
Well, there was my question, was going to be like, what's it like to finish, T2, relatively early, blah, 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 etc. But I'll save that question because it's
my mates like Josh, who are bringing up Josh Caban, Sam Daly, they were over there playing and they literally had the camera out. I think it was 2 foot to win. And then I missed it. Oh.
But he
still hasn't shown me the video. I don't want to see it.
No, it's a bit, speaking of Justin Warren, it's a little bit like his Q school 1-footer missed, the poor fella that we brought up with him. That was horrible memories. But I want to kind of maybe just skip forward a couple of years if we can to 2019. You have a really good year in 2019. 3 top 10s and an additional 3rd place finish, which saw you rise about 1,100 places in the world ranking in that year to inside the top 1,000. Highlights from that year: T3 over in China, T12 on the Asian tour, T5 again in China. Like 2019 seemed to be a really, really consistent year for you. I mean, is there something that kind of clicked? Was it, just a part of the process? Like, what was it?
I just think, the year previously I was in Japan, 2018. So like that was a bit of a journey in itself. Like going through the Q school system there is pretty full on. You got went through stage 2, then flew home, and then went back to stage 3, and then after stage 3 stayed for stage 4. And there's 200 people for 25 spots, and I got my card, and it was awesome over there. But then I lost it as fast as I got it, So I was playing the challenge tour for the rest of the year, and then didn't have any status. I went back to Q school at the end of that year and didn't get any status. So I was like, oh, what's next? So I thought PGA Tour China could be a good option. It sort of had pathway to the Corn Ferry at the time. I started pretty average, to be fair, and then did a little bit of work with a sports psych, Jonah Oliver, who, he helped me a lot. I was sort of really struggling through that year and had a good finish, and sort of, I didn't do enough to get any status on, Corn Ferry or anything. I think, the Max McGreevy, who won our Order of Merit that year, now is on the PGA Tour. So he won the Order of Merit in China, which got him starts on Corn Ferry, and then won once or twice. It might have been twice, but he finished high enough to get top 25 on Corn Ferry, and now he's on PGA Tour. So that was sort of my thinking, go through that sort of stage, Finished 30 something on the Order of Merit that year. So I thought I'll go back there next year, and I've learned heaps, and I've got a lot to improve, and then COVID hit. So
I was that's sort of where I was going next. I mean, you come back from China and then you play the Vic PGA, where you finish in the top 10 and continue to play really well back here on the Aussie Tour, T17 at the Super 6, then back to the Asian Tour, where you're just outside the top 10, T20 in New South Wales, T33 at the Aussie Open. So it's building for Aaron Wilkin. And then the arse falls out of the world, mate. I think, how does can you contextualize it at all? What's that like? Because the next year you played 2 events.
Nah, I think a lot of people like myself are still trying to get a head around it, but it's done now. The last 18 months were shit, and I feel like I've lost, almost 2 years, and now you're sort of restarting because there was sort of progress there starting to happen. But I don't know. What do you do? There's so many more people in the world that are in a more shit spot than what I am. I'm in a pretty good spot when it all boils down. So it's just about resetting, I think. Sorry. Dimi's calling me.
Put him on. Put him on.
Papadatos, answer speaker.
Dimi, you're on the podcast.
You're on the potty.
Dimi, hello.
Yeah.
The great God. What's doing?
I'm just going to give Wilco some dirt.
Some dirt.
Yeah.
Well, it's only the four of us talking, mate, so please go ahead.
I just wanted to see how many birds Denzel picked up at the Pav last night. We'll go to win there.
This is brilliant. This is the best content that we've had on this podcast for quite some time.
I'll talk to you later, Dimi.
The podcast, that's all right.
See you,
At
mate.
least I know where I stand. All right, see you, mate. Bye.
Oh,
We're not cutting that out.
He's always good for a stitch up.
oh, Papadatos. That's
Were
good
you,
stuff.
He's been on before, hasn't he?
Yes,
He has. He has. Do you know? Actually, you might appreciate this. You probably will. So one of our main sources of research for podcast guests are their social media accounts, and the first photo that Papadatos ever published to Instagram was a photo of himself in a pair of budgies holding a bottle of Belvedere vodka.
I remember that.
And we asked him about it, and he got quite embarrassed. To be fair, this was before the days that we were recording these with video, and I think that's lucky because he probably was, the colour of a tomato, to be fair. And subsequently, that photo has now disappeared off his Instagram account. So I think he's done a little. He's gone back through, done a little bit of curating of the feed, because it probably doesn't, neatly fit the profile that Braith is selling of him out in the market. And yeah, he's done a little bit of curating. So he's a good man, Dimi. He's a good man.
He's a legend. He's a legend.
I can't even remember. Yeah, I think we were talking about what a shit spot the last 18 months were. I don't want to dwell. So I don't really want to dwell on that too much, other than to say that I note that you mentioned kind of that good patch you're having in 2019. You've done a bit of work with a sports psych.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there was any residual effect with your ability to deal with the challenges of not playing golf through a bit of pragmatism, and that you understand that doing a bit of work with the sports side probably allows you to have a bit more of a level head, stay a bit more balanced. And I wonder if that, obviously there were times that were super frustrating, and you would have had every right to be pissed off because you'd got a bit of momentum and that was stunted. But I wonder if there was any residual flow on from the work that you've done there, because we've spoken to a number of people recently who've got a common thread. They've done some work in that mental space, and it's had a huge benefit on their game.
Yeah, I think it did a little bit, but I think when you're comparing, like, where sometimes the sports psych part and then the psychology part in life is a little bit different sometimes, maybe. It's a little bit deeper when you go into the life sort of psychology part of it all, but it definitely helped me a little bit dealing with that when I was, in COVID working. Didn't really feel that good about myself. Not all the time, but at certain parts, you just, you got a little bit down with where you were at and what you were doing and what was next, and a lot of thoughts going through your head. Will this ever end? But life goes on, and we've pushed through it, and I'm just trying to not look back and sort of trying to look forward. You know what I mean?
You've had 2 wins in the last little bit, and I want to talk about them because we've spoken about your journey, and there's a couple of places you've mentioned. Yoga, where you grew up. Wynnum was such an important place to you, and you won Wynnum most recently, but you had a win in Dubbo as well, which I imagine, given the proximity to where you grew up, you talked about you used to go down and play there with Pop as a treat. That must have been really special to go back to essentially the area in which you grew up and go back and have a win.
Yeah, that was awesome. So I stayed with my nan that week. Like, Pop's not with us anymore. So when he sort of passed, I was in Japan, and that was a bit of a tough time actually going back to that. Sort of didn't really feel like playing golf after that, because when you sort of have someone that is a massive influence in your life, or golf is what it was. I always relate golf back to him, and when I went to golf when he wasn't there, I didn't feel like I just wasn't connecting. But anyway, my nan still lives in the Oval, and I stayed with her that week, and I was traveling the 70 Ks every day up with her to play Dobbo. I just had this really good connection that week. I just sort of felt like, I don't know if I felt like Pop was there watching me, but I was so calm. I wish I could find that every week. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Like Nen's, they're like recording like my fairways and my greens and everything. And texting mum, like mum and dad are in Queensland, and she's like, oh yeah, blah, she's sort of like forgetting about the actual score and where I'm at and the position. She's just more worried about all the little things and stuff. But,
yeah, greens and reg. That's what she has. Yeah, she's greens and reg.
I hit about 8 and shot 7 under. No. But that was pretty cool. I had like my auntie and uncle come out and a few friends. It was cool. And Dobbo was in the course just quiet. I'll give him a bit of a shout out. The course is in incredible condition, and I missed it last year, just with the borders and stuff, which is a bit of a shame. Couldn't go back and defend it, but yeah, that was a cool week. It was just good to do it in front of them. Like I didn't really. There probably should have been a little bit of pressure that I would have normally put on myself, but didn't feel it that week, which was a really good feeling.
And so you kind of come to this summer, and obviously we're back playing consistent golf, as we said. Where did you, given the fact that you've had such stunted momentum in the past 18 months, and yeah, you've picked up obviously Wynnum, you picked up Dubbo a little bit before that. What sort of expectations did you put on yourself coming into this summer? Because it's probably easy to get carried away and think, all right, we're playing back to back. We've got a couple of European Tour cards on the line here from an order of merit perspective, but also probably need to be a little bit kind to yourself in the sense that you're coming off really not much prep. So when you were coming at the start of the summer, what did you kind of set yourself as a bit of a goal?
Playing every week to try and win, right? So I'd like to win before the year's over on a tour level. I've sort of set that goal for a while now, and it hasn't happened, but I feel like I'm getting closer, even though at times it feels a long way away, if that makes sense. But yeah, I feel like the order of merit this year is sort of semi already wrapped up in a sense with Jed. There's a few boys that could catch him potentially, but is it realistic? Can they catch him?
I think it's tough. I think Jed's got his locked up, but I was just actually having a look at it there. I think is Andrew Dote is in second. Yeah, I don't think that one's locked up, particularly after this week. Now that Dimi and Quayle and Pikey are now closing, so it's certainly getting tied up the top. But I guess
it'd be good to have a couple of good finishes, sort of more like anywhere from now on, sort of leading into back end of next year, because that's when the Q schools will start opening up again. Asian Tour looks like a really good spot to go at the moment. The money getting pumped into there, and I'd like to maybe explore Japan again. I feel like I learned a lot about my game over there. I was probably not ready at the time. I feel like I'd be more ready if I went now. And then there's Europe as well. So there's going to be some options coming up. I think the States is obviously where everyone says they want to go, but it's not that easy. The level's quite high. I think the level's just as high almost on the secondary tour. And you probably see that a lot with the guys that come through the Corn Ferry. They're competing pretty early on the PGA Tour.
We are recording in New South Wales Open Week, and this will probably come out after the New South Wales Open is done and dusted.
Yeah.
Down at Concord there. What would that mean to be the champion? You could really sound like Nostradamus here and be predicting the future, but because this will be out next week. But what would that mean, I guess, ultimately for you to be holding the trophy aloft as the winner of the New South Wales Open, your home state's or your home state's title, I guess.
Old home state.
Yeah, old home state. Yeah. Well, it's where you're born.
Oh yeah, of course. It'd be awesome. I got a few things I need to tidy up between now and holding the trophy up. Got to get the putter working again. Sort of seemed to have left me of late, but it meant a lot. Just to get a win anywhere, I think is a good feeling. No matter if it's a pro-am, 1 day pro-am, 2 day pro-am, 4 day pro-am, or a tour event. So any of those wins give you a bit of confidence. So, yeah, hopefully. I'm not going to say I'm going to win. I'm not going to predict myself.
I'd
I'd rather give like a prediction like of someone at like 150 to 1 so you can actually punt on him and make some cash.
Fair enough. That's smart. I was just, as Marshy mentioned, our great source of research is through Instagram here, and going back and having a look at some of the stuff that you've popped up here. But the one that caught my eye was the Australian PGA Championship T40 finish for yourself. Some great videos of yourself seemingly enjoying.
That's arrogant, isn't it?
Enjoying the party hole there on 17. You reckon that they should put them on every hole? And you tagged the PGA of Australia. I don't think they responded, but
they didn't respond.
No, they didn't reply. And I must note as well, you're also wearing the same cap, so so you're an official outfit repeater. Brilliant, mate. But
that was awesome.
Yeah, tell us about what it's like playing.
I feel like golf needs it.
Yeah, Marshy was out there. You and Marshy was out there. Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I mean, I was out there on Thursday, so people probably hadn't really found their feet at 17. But even then, Thursday afternoon, I think I was there when Jed came through, and he was on his way, and obviously the RQ members had the best part of 6 hours on the lemonades, waiting for Jed to come, and even that on Thursday afternoon. So I can only imagine what it was like into the weekend.
Yeah.
Saw some videos from inside the grandstand there on Saturday and Sunday, and it looked wild.
I don't know. I feel like I mean, there's a lot that goes into setting those up, right? But I just feel like if you could have them on every par 3, it brings a different crowd in. Like my mates were there. They were there for I think 3 of the days. And I went up there after the Saturday, or might have been the Friday. And I said to my mate, "Oh, you having a good time?" He goes, "Yeah." He said, "I haven't even watched one golf shot." He had the braces on his back. His piss was laid on all day. And he said the music was going, and he said, "This is unreal. It's like just going to the races. Sometimes you go to the races, you don't even watch a race.
Never see a horse."
Yeah, never see a horse. So it's about setting like an atmosphere, and I feel like you can do that in golf without going too far, but that middle ground as such.
Yeah, we're supporters of it.
Just set one up on every hole and just pump everyone in there.
Can you? I want to stay on RQ for a second. Can you take us inside the RQ clubhouse that Sunday evening? Because when we had Jed on,
I actually wasn't there.
Well, you're not. I thought it was.
I think it was only members. Nah, he was calling me out on this.
Okay. That's right. He was calling you out. Winners piss tastes better.
Yeah.
I
think it was only members allowed in there. That sounds about right with RQ.
Well, I was going to say, in retrospect, looking at that photo, there's no way you would have gone in the clubhouse.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
No way you would have gone in that clubhouse wearing that outfit. Let me tell you.
He was, and then he was out a bit later that night. And there was a fair few of us out having a few drinks, but I think it was pretty tired by the end of it. Like just a fair bit of going on with all the media stuff, and everyone sort of hyping you up for the week. So I wasn't in the clubhouse.
We caught him at the back end. I think it was the Tuesday night, was it, Nath?
I think so, something like that.
And he was in bed. He'd done 48 hours of media, I think, and we got him. Literally laying in bed. So I think
I was sort of strong. I was sort of going through your YouTube channel before and seeing who had been on.
Yeah.
How many pros have you had on here?
Heaps. We've got 190 episodes. They're not all on YouTube. We've only just started putting them on YouTube because we're not the most technical. Hey?
What took so long? Well, we were waiting to get the good guests on YouTube. That's what we were doing. Yeah, we wanted to get the best looking guests.
Imagine if we had wasted this outfit on a bloody audio episode.
Yeah, fair enough.
Would have been complete rubbish.
Yeah.
Bring it back to golf. I probably don't want to keep too much more of your time. I've got a couple of little funny ones that I've found through your Twitter feed as well. I wouldn't mind.
There's still half a bottle left.
Oh, Jesus. All right. No, buckle up, KM. TPS Bonnie Doon. You had Braith and Astra on the bag, mate. Obviously I know how that came about, but what did Braith offer on the bag? Did you ask for any assist with reading putts or anything like that? What was he like?
I should have. I didn't. Yeah. he played there more than me. I should have. No, my normal caddy that sort of comes when he couldn't get here, so Brace just offered, and yeah, it was good. It's always good to have someone that you can just talk to and get your mind off things when you're on the course. But yeah, I actually didn't listen to him. I should have, because he's played there heaps. So yeah, I should have asked the green range for sure, because I'd missed a lot of putts that week. But no, it was good to have him on there just to chat more than anything.
We pulled the piss out of him a bit at the start, but we've had him on. He was fantastic, and he's always been a great supporter of ours. He, for a person who had such a decorated footy career, the pivot has been quite remarkable, and his passion is almost unmatched for the game of golf. And he's a guy that's willing to put his money where his mouth is clearly and give back to the game. So you must be grateful for the support and obviously be pretty thrilled to be a part of his stable there at Sea.
Yeah, it's good to have someone like him in your corner, like just someone you can just text or call and just sort of ask. It's not always about golf either. It's about life. Probably felt like when I was talking to him in COVID, it was not even about golf. It's just like, how are you going? Like, what are you up to? How's work? Et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, it's good. It's good to be a part of what he's doing, and I think it's only going to get bigger. With likes of like Munster joining, like that's a big signing, We've
mentioned your brother a few times. Tell me, are you a better golfer or is he a better football player?
Nah, he's a better footy player.
Better footy player.
He's had a bit of a tough run with injuries, so he's slowly getting there. Yeah, very tough run. So I would say him only because of his resilience. Like most people that have gone through what he's gone through would be working 9 to 5. So that's probably what I admire more. Not even take away the footy part, like he's a good footy player, but when you have 7 major surgeries, things had 4 knee reconstructions and 3 shoulder reconstructions, and it's unfathomable, really.
For those unfamiliar, your brother Brad plays for the Rebels, doesn't he? The Melbourne Rebels in the Super Rugby competition. So what's that like to have a sibling who's also a professional athlete? Is there, obviously you're close anyway as brothers, but there's probably some mutual respect, albeit he's had a different sport, but a very different journey through his injuries, as you flagged. But there must be probably some appreciation as well of the journey, both as professional athletes.
Yeah, just good to bounce ideas off each other sometimes, but a lot of the times we don't like to talk about it. We like just to hang out and go for a beer and have a punt on the horses, and he loves his golf, but I can sort of play golf in a relaxed way where it's not really feeling like it's a job as such. So I like doing that with him. It's good. Like he's got a pretty smart sort of footy brain. Just the brain in general. He's helped me a lot with my golf, actually, just with how he sort of approaches his footy and all that. So, yeah.
Do you reckon Mum and Dad prefer to watch you play golf or him play footy?
Oh, no, they don't like watching any of us. Dad hates watching Australian rugby at the moment.
Yeah, well, it's a tough watch. It's a real tough watch at the moment.
It's a very tough watch. Yeah.
Goodness me.
Yeah, I don't know. The Rebels they're got a lot of injuries at the moment, so it's making it hard. But I'm more watching it for my brother. Right? I just want him to get through, have a good game, But it would be good to see a couple of wins for the
couple of W's, just a couple of points on the board. That'd be nice.
Yeah. I thought they were going to beat Fiji the other day, but couldn't even do that. So anyway, they'll be right. They'll get the boys back at the back end of the season and they'll kick on.
One final one for you, Aaron. Notice that you've stayed with a number of different people across the summer. So who's been your favourite housemate so far of the travels?
Staying with Denzel right now.
Well, yeah, we heard. G'day, Denzel. we won't ask for the match report from the Pav last night. We'll save that for Dimi when you get off the phone to us. But I mean, it could be awkward now if it's not Denzel. But who's been the best company?
Denzel's the best. Denzel's the best.
And Warren the worst, comfortably.
Nah. Well, I stay with Denz and was for Vic Open, so I'll say that they're equal. Was is funny. Was just talks so much garbage. It's that funny. Yeah, I'll put Was and Denz.
Excellent.
He's a good fella, was he?
Yeah, he's a legend.
He's gonna fucking hate us after this.
I'm staying with Dimi and Link for the national event. So.
Oh boy, get the Reds ready.
That'll be fun.
The Shirazes could be out again.
Lincoln makes you laugh.
I tell you what, you'd want to you'd want to make the weekend, mate. Jesus, I tell you what, it could be a very big Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If not, holy shit.
Dimi's quite reserved.
Yeah,
is he?
Yeah, pretty quiet fella. I also feel like all of our material's wasted on Denzel now. It probably would have been on the hit list, but he's heard all of our questions, so we'll have to go back to the drawing board and
get him on. He's at it. He's got plenty of stories.
I've heard.
All right, mate. It's been a pleasure. It's been fantastic to finally have you on. Great to hear your story. All the very best, obviously, not only for the remainder of the summer, as you say, looking to finish strong, but particularly as you get on that path to the end of the year with some Q schools coming back up. And we look forward to keeping an eye on the journey and having you back again in the future. But for now, we'll free you up so you can get back on the blower to Papadatos and give him the blow-by-blow from Sunday nights at the pub. I don't know if there's there's plenty of good Sunday sessions in the country. There's few better than Sunday night at the Coogee Pavilion.
Thanks, boys. Thanks for having us.